When we organized this event and spoke about it publicly, I received a message from a Cuban American, very earnest, sincere message saying, I hope you're not too tough on the president's opening to Cuba because quite frankly, he's trying to extend some economic opportunity to these poor people. Let me ask you, does the Cuban regime keep people poor as a means of control? Because a lot of people just think that, well, that's socialism. Guess what? It doesn't work. But I'm firmly convinced, give away the ending here, that it is a means of control. Yes, I mean, socialism doesn't work. I mean, you have a sugar harvest at 1918 levels or whatever it is. But I think also if you have Cubans, 11 million Cubans, most of them, vast majority of them, just thinking about how am I going to feed my kids today, it makes less likely that they're going to be involved in opposing the regime. It's probably a little bit of both, but what are your thoughts?
I think that there is a kind of synergy in this logic. Synergy. Mm-hmm. There is a kind of synergy in what you are mentioning. In one hand, you have that the government knows that if the people are living in a miserable condition, if the people are poor, they don't have time, they don't have the tools to face the regime. But at the same time, when you have a totalitarian regime, and the main goal of everything is to keep the power, that dynamics also provoke misery in the country.
Right.
Then I think that this is something that is like a cycle, no? Mm-hmm. They want to keep the power, and this is provoking misery, and at the same time the misery provoke that they easily keep the power. Mm-hmm. This is something like it's a cycle, and for sure we need to break that.
Right, the very definition of the vicious cycle. And what role can we play? I mean, the president's proposition now is if we can extend new alternatives for partnerships with the Cuban regime, that it will gradually change, that it will allow a little more economic space. We're only a year or so into this proposition, but have there been meaningful, irreversible openings by the regime, or has the regime actually, we know they have in terms of violent repression, but on the economic side, have they actually ratcheted down, reduced the opportunities for the Cuban people?
The regime is clear, is so clear in what they want to do, and they even are speaking about that. But the logic is completely focused in to transfer the power to their families. I think they are focusing that. They know that to do that, they need in some moment to give the idea that they are going to make certain change, because they cannot keep the same style of communist totalitarian regime. But at the same time, they are moving carefully in order to don't lose the power. Mm-hmm. I am completely sure they have been talking about that. They are not going to give really economic opportunities for the Cuban people, because they know that if they start to move in that direction, sooner or later they are going to lose the control. And they are completely afraid also about the Cuban American community that is just 90 miles from Cuba. They are so clear in what they need to do, and they sometimes try to create a kind of fantasy that they can move forward and make certain reforms. But if we know exactly the nature of the regime, we know also that they are not going to move in the direction that can provoke a real change in Cuba.